I haven't made a video on any of the Sony Spider-Man villain movies, so why not start now that they've announced that Kraven the Hunter is the final installment in their wet fart of a universe. I had started a script for a video on Madam Web around the time it came out, but abandoned it from a lack of passion, much like I did with my son. Which I regret now, because I feel like that would have been more entertaining both to make and to watch after witnessing Kraven. Both movies have that Tommy Wiseau dialogue and acting quality to them, but I mean, come on, Madam Web is Madam Web. It had spider-themed natives, Final Destination premonitions, and a Pepsi advertisement defeating the villain. And Sydney Sweeney. I will say I haven't watched Morbius or Venom 3, so those could be a goldmine for all I know. I mean, Morbius was released in theaters twice because it was just that good, but from what I remember, the first two Venom movies never captivated me, so I have no desire to rewatch them. That's my experience with the Sony villain universe, but luckily I don't think any of their lore matters to fully enjoy Kraven the Hunter, which you can actually watch the first 8 minutes of on the Sony YouTube channel. They must have been really confident that the opening is great enough to sell people on the rest of the movie. Let's see for ourselves. The movie opens with a prisoner transport stopping by a gas station to let the prisoners go tinkle. The camera focuses on the behind of one guy, specifically on the tattoo on his neck. Prisoners are seen pissing for a couple seconds, then it cuts to them returning to the truck. A guard asks where the neck tattoo prisoner is, and they find him just standing behind this shipping container. And it's revealed to be Aaron Taylor Johnson. So what's happening here is that the prisoner we saw was a different guy, and Kraven was following the truck, and off-screen in between the shot of the prisoners going to urinate and them returning, Kraven was able to take out the prisoner, unlock his shackles, remove his clothes, put them on himself, and hide the body, without any of the guards or prisoners seeing or hearing this happening. And the reason Kraven is able to insert himself as this specific prisoner is because their faces, hairstyles, and beards look alike. How lucky for Kraven. And the only way the prisoner could have been taken out without anybody noticing is if he was pissing at the end of the container by the corner and not that close to another prisoner. At least 3 guys go over there to pee, so I don't know how this was feasible. But that seems to be the whole reason this scene moves lightning fast, right? So you don't question the logistics. And how lucky as fuck for Kraven that the prisoner didn't go yellow the snow somewhere close by and surrounded by people like where this guy is standing. All of this allows Kraven to infiltrate the prison to kill some crime boss who's paid his way up in the ranks. And this scene and the one before it establishes he has super strength and the ability to climb really well.
Here comes Slipknot, the man who can climb anything.
As he escapes the prison, he's spotted outside, guards begin firing a barrage of bullets at him, and he pulls off a reverse Pietro. After climbing over the perimeter wall, a guard yells, "He's getting away!" And then it cuts to Kraven running in the middle of nowhere in the early morning with no trace of anyone near him? You guys didn't have a single helicopter or something to go after him? Like, it later establishes he has super speed, but nothing faster than a car on the highway. And it's been like, what, at least half an hour of him continuously running and he never got tired? Is this how OP we're making him? Anyway, he runs into a snowstorm where a plane and a pilot are just waiting for him. I guess he was just confident enough that he would escape in 1 day? 3 days? I'm confused on the timing because he tells his prison roommate on his first day that he'll be out in 3 days tops, but they make it look like he escapes that same night. Then the roommate cheers 3 days as Kraven is escaping, giving the impression that it's been 3 days. 3 days! If that was the case, it was visually communicated very poorly. Anyway, Kraven wipes off the neck tattoo, and chronologically, this is the moment the audience finds out that he took the prisoner's place during the piss break. But then they cut to the prison guards searching for the body at the gas station, and it turns out Kraven dumped him in plain sight? Not behind the shipping container where he presumably disguised himself? Why wouldn't the body be over there? How the fuck did no one see him drop a body here?
It is of no concern.
And those are the first 8 minutes of Kraven the Hunter Sony has bravely published online before the theatrical release. Not a great start. I don't know how the Russian sounds to one fluent in it, but the first lines of dialogue in English already sound so off.
You were late.
Next time you break out of prison and I fly this thing.
No thanks. So how'd it go?
How it always goes. Good for me, bad for him.
Yeah, I'm sure I overheard a conversation between Lisa and her mother.
Так а кто тогда, блядь, убил черного?
Hope you like quick stock footage of wildlife, cause that's gonna be a recurring thing in this. So after the title card, we get 30 minutes of backstory from 16 years ago. Kraven and his brother Dimitri are two preppy schoolboys in New York.
Kravinoff and Kravinoff! Your father is coming to pick you up!
Oh, his last name is where he gets Kraven, I guess. I know squat about this character. Y'all should know I don't read comics and they are irrelevant when assessing the quality of these movies.
Sergey.
Wait, what? His real name is Sergey Kravinoff? So we get exposition on Sergey Jakanoff and his brother Dimitri's tragic situation at this time. Their mother offed herself recently, and their dad is Andrew Tate. So you already know what his take is.
She took on life. She was weak, sick in her mind. If you take on life, you do not get honor or funeral.
And his solution to grief is just about what you expect.
We go to hunt, shoot to kill.
The hunting trip takes place in Africa, where Sergey and Dimitri are... You want to get another take for that? No, that's fine.
Good, got it, great, good.
Sergey and Dimitri are reluctant to hunt with guns, so Russell Crowe continues to channel his inner Andrew Tate to motivate them.
Dimitri, don't look so weak. Be a man.
Meanwhile, somewhere else in Africa, a girl is playing with some tarot cards until her grandma comes in.
Put the cards away now, Calypso.
Ah, a girl named Calypso is playing with some tarot cards.
Think again, Calypso.
Okay, I got it.
I have something for you, Calypso.
Alright, I get it.
Calypso, look!
Okay, that's Calypso. Look, everyone, it's Calypso, Kraven's love interest in the comics. That much I do know because I played the Spider-Man 3 game. Now stop saying her name like that. This entire scene is literally just to unsubtly foreshadow and to motivate Calypso to wander off during a safari ride with her parents, which causes her to randomly run into Sergey, who got chomped by a lion, and motivate her into force-feeding him a vial that her grandma gave her, and ends up saving his life and giving him superpowers. Now, how is all this executed? Grandma tells Calypso her cards can predict the future, and that the 3 cards she picked predict there's going to be a terrible accident, but the outcome will be strength, which is dangerous, but then doesn't hint as to why, even though garnering strength from an accident sounds like a positive thing. So because of this prediction, Grandma gives her a miracle healing potion. The next day, when Calypso is on the safari ride with her parents, she pulls out the strength card and looks off into the distance. I guess the card gave her the power to teleport, because she manages to sneak off of the truck without making a sound, and make enough distance in a few seconds to the point where she is nowhere in sight in an empty field that stretches all the way to the horizon. And Calypso isn't being stealthy about leaving at all. She's just slowly wandering in plain sight. Keep in mind, she didn't hear the gunshots or any screaming from Sergey's encounter with the lion, so her motivation to go find the terrible accident from Grandma's prediction is based on nothing. Or I guess if you're J.J. Abrams pilled, it's based on a feeling.
Feeling.
The fact that she nor her parents heard the gunshots puts into perspective just how far away they are from Sergey. Yet she just stumbles across him. How the fuck did she find him before his dad and the group did? They would have kept an eye on the lion this whole time so they don't lose Sergey, but she's just here before any of them. And what does she do when she's just mere meters away from a fucking lion that just claimed a boy as his dinner? Can you act scared or do something to conceal yourself, like hiding behind these bushes? What is this reaction? She looks like she just saw someone miss their bus, and she doesn't even have a weapon or anyone who's got her back. So she's just fucked if the lion decides to use her as chewing gum. I mean, she can teleport, so never mind, just do that. There's a close-up shot of a droplet of blood from the lion's wound falling into Sergey's wound, implying he's about to get lion AIDS, but no need for Calypso's teleportation, because the lion just decides to leave. That's when Calypso pours the potion Grandma gave her down Sergey's gullet, and we get a montage of wildlife stock footage that you would see in a nature documentary, accompanied by a grandma voiceover saying, "Bring me the power of the earth, bring me the power of the sky." Lines that were not said by her earlier, but this plus the lion AIDS is the explanation for Sergey's future superpowers. He actually dies for over 3 minutes according to the doc, but is resuscitated by the stock footage. speech. Sergei is then forced to go home to London prematurely by Russell Tate, and decides to run away after Pappy continues to push his toxic masculinity on him. For some reason, they kept his torn bloody shirt from the accident, even though that probably would have been tossed before they left Africa. And after giving it one little shake when it's upright, Calypso's empty vial falls out of somewhere. So Sergei wants to run off to Russia to a camp his family used to go to because it makes him feel close to his mom. And the way he gets there from London is by asking a guy working on a cargo ship if he can board it. After Sergei confirms he's on the run, the crew member tells him to get on, because it's not like there would be a process to do this. And it's not like Sergei could be a liability to the product being transported, especially if he's someone on the run, potentially from the authorities. Yeah, then he's just in Eastern Russia, on foot, not looking like he's struggled to get here whatsoever. They keep doing this thing where they portray Sergei as having a connection with wild animals. Even before the accident, there was a moment he had with the lion where it understood he's friendly when he put down his gun. A bird comes up to his window and stops to watch him right before he runs away. And a buffalo stops during a stampede to watch him. And we get a demonstration of his new abilities, which include super speed, jumping really far, climbing really well, eagle eyes, and bullseye throwing accuracy. These demos come naturally in the scene, but later in the movie they have brief scenes to show off more of his throwing accuracy and the fact that he has super smell. But they're so weirdly fucking written and come out of nowhere. Just take a look at this shit. This happens when Sergei and Dmitri are on their way to dinner.
Sorry.
Thank you.
Pleasure. Nice perfume, by the way.
Thanks, but I'm not actually wearing any.
Who says this to a stranger in passing? It would have just ended with a thank you, and the fact that she's not wearing any would have likely been brought up to her boyfriend in private afterwards.
She was gonna find out soon enough.
So yeah, absolutely bizarre inclusion. Here's the bullseye scene.
Hold that, will ya? Please? Buddy?
Keep in mind that this guy is on the phone and far away while Sergei is basically mumbling at him asking to hold the door.
Hold that, will ya? Please? Buddy?
He can't hear shit.
I tried to hold it for you.
No, you didn't.
He's magically not on the phone anymore as Sergei walks in, and makes up an obvious lie instead of mentioning he was on the phone and couldn't hear him. The movie wants this guy to look selfish and feel intimidated after the knife was thrown, but they executed it like shit. So Sergei is objectively in the wrong, yet he's the one giving this guy sass. And I think this was meant to be a comedic scene because of the dialogue after, but it's just not funny.
Oh, that's my travel knife. Use it for work.
What you do for work, exactly?
I hunt. People.
Anyway, we finally return to the present after that 30-minute snooze fest of keeping up with the Kravinoffs. Sergei is still living at the camp in Russia and spends his days killing poachers. Then we get the follow-up to his prison infiltration and assassination of that Russian crime boss. Apparently, that guy ordered a hit on Calypso's friend/mentor, a London prosecutor, and hunting him down is Sergei's way of thanking her for saving his life. Now you're wondering, hold up, did Sergei even get a chance to glance at Calypso? Because he was passed out. He doesn't know what she looks like or what her name even is. All he has is some tarot card and an empty vial. How the fuck is he here? Well, sit down, nitpicker. This is Sergei's explanation for how he found out about her.
This all you had to go on? How'd you find me?
Hunting people down is sort of my thing.
So keep in mind, Sergei only shows up 16 years later because someone close to Calypso was killed, and retaliation is his way of saying thank you. Meaning, he's just been keeping tabs on her for years, somehow, waiting for something like this to happen. Meaning he could have gone his entire life without ever approaching her. There's gotta be at least 100 decent ways to write a movie where Kraven and Calypso get together, but they chose the option that's contrived to high heaven. Saying thank you isn't the only reason Sergei found Calypso though. though. She just happens to be one of the greatest investigative lawyers in Europe and therefore has access to finding criminals Sergei can't. Not at all a massive fucking contrivance that the random chick who saved him while they happened to visit Africa at the same time ended up in London, the same city where Dimitri and Russell Tate are, with a high-level profession useful to Sergei's missions, and had someone he could avenge for her. Also, I find it hard to believe that Sergei needs help finding people when he was basically able to find a ghost from 16 years ago without using anything that even remotely links to her. Alright, it's time to talk about the villains. Yes, that is real. That is the Rhino in this movie. So 16 years ago, during the hunting expedition in Africa, one of Russell Tate's mates had a guest there, the man who later becomes Rhino. We'll call him Calf for now since he isn't Rhino yet. I don't think I mentioned it, but Russell Tate is a big-time drug dealer who's perpetually seeking to move up the totem pole, and because of his high status, Calf asks to be drug buddies. Because Russell Tate is Russell Tate, he tells him, "Fuck off, you stupid, irrelevant, no name, handicapped, no pussy getting virgin, L+ ratio." I'm paraphrasing. Calf takes this to heart and spends the next 16 years planning his revenge. This includes treating a condition he has, one that is left nameless because even the doctors he went to couldn't identify it. We gotta have our made-up ambiguous disease so that the villain treats it with an experimental serum made from animal cum instead of a normal FDA-approved treatment. The only problem we see this condition cause is shortness of breath during mild physical activity. The solution Calf found was signing up to be a guinea pig for a New York biochemist's procedure to astronomically increase strength. You see, every drug dealer in this movie has a never-appearing weak fetish. The procedure worked, and that was the moment Calf became Rhino. However, it's too painful being in Rhino form, so he maintains his human persona via medications being tubed into him from a feed bag.
I call this my feed bag.
With his new alter ego, Rhino can finally strike fear into those who refuse to partner with him, except the first scene where he shows it off to his competitors exposes an obvious weakness, which is his Rhino form takes a while to finish and his head is vulnerable to a gunshot in the meantime.
It's okay, it's okay.
Like, imagine they shot him in the head before the Rhino skin reveal. He's just out of the rest of the movie and we don't get our super duper ultra epic fight between him and Kraven at the end. This movie quickly jumps quite a bit from plot point to plot point. It's the epitome of this happens, then this happens, then this happens, then this happens. Like that Rhino reveal scene is a dealer meeting he set up for a potential partnership, now that the Russian crime boss from the beginning is dead. It feels like every fucking character is connected to each other somehow. Maybe this is the movie that should have had the "her web connects them all" tagline. Once there is one man left standing, Rhino sends him to kill Russell Tate via a meeting to discuss a partnership. But then it fails, and then Rhino is informed, and that's when he does this thing. And then his henchman shows him a flash drive that anonymously appeared on his doorstep, and it contains security footage exposing Sergei as the hunter who killed the crime lord. So the rest of the movie is Rhino trying to kill Kraven because earlier his henchman said,
But then again, I hear he's got a list. Once you're on it, you never come off. And there's a good chance you're on it.
I see Richard Wenk took some notes for— No. No. The lead writer's name of the movie about a man named Sergei Jakinoff is Richard Wenk. Dick Wenk. I see Dick Wenk took some notes from Madam Web and made his villain go after the protagonist because they might kill me in the future. I don't know for sure, therefore I will kill them first. At least Rhino has tangible evidence that the hunter is real and he's been shanking level 100 mafia bosses, unlike that stupid fuck who just goes after teenage girls based on dreams. This screen is hilarious, by the way. It states the name of the subject and their parents, but if they're dead, the method of death is stated instead, without a name. Also, this makes no sense. If the heading is aliases, then everything underneath it is an alias. You don't put AKA before one of the aliases on the list. Did you guys even try? In order to kill Kraven, Rhino tells his henchman to contact someone named the Foreigner, aka the second villain of this movie. And this is how Rhino verbally introduces him to the audience.
Put the Foreigner on this. He is a bit of a freak, but he's been obsessed with the hunter for years.
Now, the foreigner is a normal-looking guy who seems very reserved, as seen immediately in the next scene. So what's the part that makes him a bit of a freak?
1, 2, 3.
He basically has super speed, in the form of hypnotizing people into paralyzation. This is so OP, it needs elaboration. How the fuck is this possible by just staring and counting to 3? Was he born with it? Was he given an experimental serum like Rhino? Was he a victim of a freak magic show accident? The movie will not answer any of this, spoiler alert. And with the lack of characterization, the foreigner is boiled down to a plot device. He is simply used to get into places where Rhino can't and to easily subdue Sergei. But at least, as you just witnessed, it can only be done on one person at a time. He needs to look someone straight in the eye as well as count up to 3. So at least it has something of a rule, something of a limit, and the movie will follow this throughout, right? Right? Right?
Fucking kidding me?
Okay, this has to be some kind of mutant power, right? If he can just hypnotize 6 people without even being near all of them or looking them in the eyes. Rhino then says,
Will your trick still work when I remove your eyeballs from your head?
but like, clearly he doesn't use his eyes to do this. It's more like he can activate a paralyzation field around him. He doesn't even have to count to 3, so what's even the fucking point of doing that? The foreigner's orders are just confusing and convoluted. Rhino verbatim says, maybe the foreigner can figure out what the fuck is going on after seeing the video exposing Sergei as the hunter. So what is there to figure out? It immediately cuts to the foreigner outside the Russian prison, finding and pocketing the tiger tooth Sergei used to kill. Why are you here? Why do you need that? It never comes up again for the rest of the movie. I guess it was only to show off his hypnosis power, even though he uses it several times later. There's another massive coincidence I haven't mentioned yet, which is that Sergei visits Dmitri in London once a year to celebrate his birthday. And it just so happens to be a week after Calypso's mentor was murdered, so Sergei is temporarily staying at Dmitri's penthouse. While the foreigner was sent to dick around in Russia, Rhino sent a group of henchmen to kill Sergei at Dmitri's place in broad daylight, but they don't find him there because he went to sleep in the park, so they kidnap Dmitri instead. I guess that's why they're kidnapping him in the morning in front of people, because if they did at night, we wouldn't get this super turbo high-octane epic testosterone-inducing car chase since Sergei would be asleep. So if the foreigner was here with his overpowered bullshit, he could have just hidden Dmitri's apartment while they steal him, so that when Sergei comes back, he surprise paralyzes and kills him. Like, why the fuck did Rhino and his henchmen, the guys with no instant win abilities, think they could take on the hunter without the foreigner?
You idiot!
Later in the movie, the foreigner manages to sneak up on Kraven in the middle of a forest and shoot him with a dart, so he would have absolutely been able to kill him at the penthouse. Anyway, back to the kidnapping, Sergei happens to spot them in time, and the Rhino goons end up getting away with Dmitri on a helicopter. Sergei employs Calypso's help and asks Russell Tate if he knows who did it. He says no and refuses to pay the ransom because he's a big chungo who doesn't bow down to anyone. Calypso tells one of her contacts that the kidnapper sounds Turkish, smokes Turkish cigarettes, and has a scar under his eye, because that's all Sergei has to go off of. The contact immediately gives her the perp's file and location, which is in Turkey, but it turns out Rhino got to the contact first, so the location is actually a trap waiting for Sergei. Once again, Rhino doesn't send the foreigner to Turkey so he can insta-paralyze Sergei when he gets there. Instead, he has him shoot the contact after giving Calypso the file, when any other fucking goon could have done this. He immediately repeated his mistake at the penthouse. Rhino thinks his normal men with guns will be able to kill the hunter, but he needed the foreigner's hypnosis to shoot one regular guy in a stairwell well. I guess this plot needed to be stretched out to 2 hours somehow. Oh yeah, you might be wondering, how the hell is Sergei hopping from country to country on a dime? Well, the lady who picked him up in the opening is his private chauffeur, I guess, who is available 24/7, and Sergei is somehow able to pay, despite not having a job or any financial help from Russell Tate.
Get a goddamn job!
I don't know, maybe he avenged someone for her and now she feels like she owes him unlimited rides. Fuck it. Once Sergei finds the Turkish guy, he threatens him into spilling Dimitri's real location, but is interrupted by an incoming rocket. Now remember, the Turkish guy is a regular ass human. He's a normal guy. No super strength, no super durability. He's physically just your run-of-the-mill human. Now watch what happens next. So, that 100-foot drop and violent tumble through concrete for another 100 didn't kill him. Better yet, it left him conscious. And being alive and conscious is the way Sergei learns that Rhino is behind all of this. Once the turkey fiasco is all said and done, the foreigner shows up to check out the crime scene, and takes one of the poison darts Kraven used on the guards. He then uses hypnosis on the local authorities to escape, continuing to remind me that he should have just fucking been here from the get-go. Sergei then informs Calypso that the Rhino set him up, and he's gonna send a private plane to pick her up since she's probably his next victim. Rhino's henchmen just so happen to show up during this call, and she just so happens to identify them? Just look at this scene and listen to the horrendous dialogue.
The Rhino? He'll be after you next.
Sergei, what are you... Shit. There are 5 guys walking into my building right now who do not look like they belong here.
How the fuck do you know that? Does Calypso have the eagle eye ability too? Also, these guys are in business suits. They're dressed exactly like the other people in this shot. Also, why did Rhino send them to kill/kidnap her here, in her massive office building full of people? How would they get away with this without getting spotted by employees or security cameras? Why send 5 guys to go after one regular woman? That's so much riskier than sending one should they get caught.
You damn idiot.
Calypso and Sergei meet up at his camp in Russia, and we are blessed with even more of Ariana DeBose's Oscar-worthy acting.
3 of my sources have gone offline while tracking the Rhino's plane. I don't like the feel of this at all.
Did the director even tell her that she's reacting to a man getting mauled by a leopard in this scene? She just moves a few steps away and reacts like a chihuahua started barking at her.
Good, got it, great, good.
Anyway, the foreigner tells Rhino that he recognizes the toxin Sergei used on his darts, and it's made from peas that are native to a specific area of Siberia, which is where Sergei's camp is. Good thing he has this knowledge, and good thing they completely bank on that location, because it is indeed where Sergei has retreated. Sergei and Calypso stop to talk about Grandma's potion, how he wants more of it, but she doesn't have any because Grandma died shortly after that trip, and how she thinks karma is going to catch up to Sergei. He has this line that makes me giggle.
I'm the greatest hunter on this planet. It's undeniable. There's nobody I can't track down.
The whole reason Calypso is involved in the present-day plot is because there are people Sergei cannot track down himself. Rhino's men go around a forest looking for Sergei, but of course he fucks all of them up, and then finally, fucking finally, Rhino has the foreigner 1v1 him. He shoots him with a deadly dart out of nowhere, like I mentioned earlier, one that causes the recipient to hallucinate their worst nightmare. And so, Sergei, Kraven the Hunter, the guy who comfortably sleeps on grass and is basically one with nature, hallucinates a bunch of big-ass spiders. Because of course, Sony needs to foreshadow the movie where he will face the biggest spider of them all.
Like that's ever gonna happen.
As Sergei is getting his cheeks clapped and is about to get his cranium redecorated, Calypso gives the foreigner an eyeball piercing using a bow and arrow. And that's the end of that cunt. A super OP character that was utterly wasted and barely even had a fucking personality. Calypso then reveals she lied about not having more miracle potion and revives Sergei with it like she did all those years ago. Rhino's henchmen think the foreigner killed Sergei because they heard a gunshot but didn't actually witness it, so they all get back in their rides, and nobody realizes that the foreigner never came back. No one feels his absence as they're driving away. He and Rhino carpooled here together. They would likely carpool on their way out. Wouldn't Rhino like to hear about how Kraven's death went down straight from the horse's mouth?
Nope.
But he can't realize the foreigner failed just yet. They need to drive out to the empty field so we can have our penis-enlarging final battle surrounded by wild buffalo. I feel like if your fully formed Rhino can still wear a skinny man's shirt and pants without ripping them, then you haven't made your Rhino big enough. Anyway, Sergei defeats Rhino by laying pipe. No, I don't mean he has sex with him, you fucking dirty-minded pervert. I mean he forcefully sticks a pipe from a car into Rhino's hole. The hole where his feed bag connects. What the fuck were you thinking? That's how he's able to make him bleed. As Rhino is dying, he mocks Sergei for not realizing that the person who sent him the security footage exposing his identity was right in front of him all along. Sergei then finds Russell Tate camping out in the middle of nowhere, and we are once again bestowed with a bare minimum explanation as to how he found someone with nothing to go off of.
How did you find me?
I'm a hunter.
It's what we do.
Russell Tate explains that he baited Rhino into kidnapping Dmitri and killing Sergei because he knew he would fail, and Sergei would eliminate the competition for him. After basically telling him, yeah, it's my fault Dmitri got his finger chopped off, and my fault you were about to die a painful death, had it not been for this woman I had no idea even existed or had a magic potion, Russell Tate expects Sergei and Dmitri to be chill with him, and live happily ever after as a family. Meaning he suffers from the same brain condition Wenwu from Shang-Chi had that makes him an unself-aware dumb fuck. Before confronting Russell Tate, Sergei told Yogi Bear to feast on his dad as he leaves, and Yogi does just that. Listen, he's like Aquaman, but rather than only talking to fish, Sergei talks to all critters. We then get a 1-year time jump to Dimitri's next birthday. I haven't really talked about Dmitri throughout, given he doesn't have a major role in the story other than giving Sergei a sort of emotional anchor and to raise the stakes for him, but he's like the only character that gets an arc, though it doesn't fully make sense. He's quite timid and a bit of a pushover thanks to Russell Tate's behavior and Sergei leaving him behind as a teenager, which carried over to him as an adult. He hates being underestimated and a coward and wishes nothing more than to be whoever he wants to be. Then at the birthday dinner with Sergei a year later, he reveals he took over their dad's drug empire and blames Sergei for getting kidnapped?
Dima, I didn't pull your ass out the fire so you can become a man like a father.
Are you serious? You put my ass in that fire.
Sergei was minding his own business until your dad informed Rhino that the hunter is your brother and therefore he can use you as bait. Has he not made that clear to Dmitri in a whole year? Then he claims Sergei is worse than their father because he kills high-profile criminals? Need you remind him, Kraven, that he was about to shoot Rhino, a high-profile criminal, in the face. And last time I checked, Sergei wasn't illegally making millions of dollars by doing what he does. And he insisted that Russell Tate pay the ransom to save Dmitri. He isn't flooded with pride and lacking morals like his dad was. You can criticize Kraven for killing, but this is like saying the Punisher and Kingpin have the same values because they both kill. Whatever, none of this matters. All this is Sony baiting a sequel that will never happen by having Dmitri become the chameleon off screen. It's not like we didn't see this coming from a mile away either.
He can do anyone. He's like chameleon.
Yeah, Dmitri was born with the ability to perfectly imitate any voice, so all he had to do was be able to perfectly imitate any appearance. You'd think this alone would satisfy his lust for being strong, like he says it does, but nope, he needed to continue his dad's drug business, something he hated. Luckily, Rhino unprovokedly told Dmitri the name of the doctor that transformed him, so becoming the chameleon could be possible in the first place. Dmitri's last words are telling Sergei that Russell Tate left a gift for him at home, and it's his comic-accurate vest along with a letter.
Embrace who you really are. You are more than my child. You are me, and I am you. We are hunters. The greatest the world has ever known.
Yeah, this letter is a nothing burger because Sergei ended up in the same place where he started. He hated his dad for failing his mom, for using guns to hunt, and for prioritizing his drug empire over his family. And those feelings have not changed by the end. This whole "you're just like Russell Tate" narrative being pushed by Dimitri and their dad is entirely forced. The movie did not meaningfully explore that, so not only is this just more sequel bait, but Sergei would never entertain this gift, because if it's from his father, then he knows the fur was obtained via hunting with guns. He even looks over where the lion head was mounted, the one his dad shot to death, and it's gone, implying it now lives on as the vest. It essentially embodies everything he hates the most, and I'm supposed to believe that he'll willingly sport this in the never-happening Kraven 2, Electric Boogaloo. I wanted to publish a short man before the end of the year, but here I am with a medium man after the end of the year. Thank you to my patrons over at Patreon and the channel members for the support, and shout out to Carlos Caraballo, Frosted Fakes, Ghost Based, Icteal, and Will D's. Nuts.
That was, hell, what I went through. But it also freed me. I feel almost born again.